All right, I'm good. I'm recording. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Get Down. We are up to episode 29. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
And we have a very special guest this week, my man Kastra. What's up, Kastra?
What's up, man? It's good to see you.
I know we were talking offline, and we were saying like we legit haven't seen each other since since Atlantic City, like 2 summers ago.
Well, that's what I think. It might have been one of the Get Down meetups was the last time I saw you. Dude, everything is just such a blur. It's like this year just flew by, and it feels like nobody did anything, but somehow it went so fast. But I really can't remember to the last time that I saw you in 3D.
Well, you know, Zoom kind of counts, but not really.
It's been almost a year since the last Get Down meetup, like already.
Yeah, so it's definitely been over a year since I've seen you guys.
Jeez. Man, so we met, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago in Miami at Miami Music Week, and the way we met was very interesting. We're not going to go into it on the pod, but it was a unique way to meet somebody, definitely.
I knew right off the bat that I was gonna like this guy. when I met you.
I feel like we met and then it was just like full speed. We were like became friends pretty quickly, and we were like rocking all the Miami parties, and it was cool because we were both like partying and drinking and having fun, but we were still trying to get all the stuff done that we were there to do.
I agree.
And I think we both had like a similar mind state in that way.
Absolutely, dude. I'm so happy I stayed with you guys that year because like every time I go down to Miami, I try to stay with different people. Just so I can get like branch out and meet people. And like that year that I did it with you, like the year before I'd been staying like with my old management, like Damien and Gazzo and all those guys. And then that whole crew kind of fell apart. So I really had nobody to go with next year. So Tony was like, oh, come stay with me, and I didn't really know anybody else in the room. And he wasn't even there when I walked in. So I was like, when I met you, it was interesting. But I'm so happy I did that because like I was trying to like branch out and meet the New Jersey scene, and I felt like I accomplished that much quicker by meeting you guys. And like that whole year, you know, I feel like I met so many more people. So it was a hell of a time. It was certainly a great introduction, and we've been buds ever since, obviously.
That's really funny that you guys met down in Miami, but
yeah,
you know,
I know
you're from Belmar, right? Originally.
Yep.
And it just goes to show you actually in the last 4 years how much smaller the music and DJ community has become in Jersey, right?
It really has.
I feel like we now know everybody from North Jersey to South Jersey at this point, in part due to, you know, we do our meetups and then, you know, the various other events that people do meet up at. But I just feel like in that time frame, everything is just really shrunk. And like, if you don't know, it's weird not to know somebody at this point.
I totally agree. And it's like, dude, like you'll go to DJs and you'll see half these people there. And it's like, oh my God, like you realize how small of a community it is. Like even when you branch out into New York, it's still not that big. Like there's a lot of DJs, but you feel like you know a lot of them. You know what I mean? It's very rare that I haven't played one of their edits or met them personally. It's just like, but I think you've been doing this for a long time.
I think the social media thing, and I think just like the mind state of DJs has changed a little bit in the last handful of years, where people are trying to work together a little more and are more open to sharing music and ideas and working together. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Gary and I have really focused on too. So
no, I agree. I feel like for the longest time, I mean, it still happens, obviously, people trying to like work over each other and fight to get to the top, but it really ends up working against you. You get so much more done, and so much like, you know, by trading and just forming more of a community around it. It'll be a lot more fun too.
Yeah. So prior to you getting into music, you went to college for business, right?
Yeah, I actually got a master's degree as well.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
No, so after you graduated college, you worked at various places within the music industry, right? So Live Nation, Atlantic Records, Webster Hall.
Yeah. So
how did that help you as an artist? And do you think you would be where you are without learning some things at some of those stops?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I thought I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be on the business side of it. And as I kind of got more and more entrenched in it, it turned out to be something that I didn't, I mean, I would have done it, you know what I mean? But like my passion was always towards actually the creative side of music. So I mean, I started like, I was a producer long before I was a DJ. So like I started making, you know, mashups, and then I started getting my original productions. Like I've been a musician since I was 13. So when I figured out I could make entire songs all by myself without relying on other people, I really was into that. So when I was like a senior in college, I was doing an internship at Atlantic Records, but I also started, you know, making my own music. And then that's kind of like when the EDM boom happened, like 2011, 2012. So I started kind of just putting stuff out there, and it was getting enough traction to the point where by the time I finished college and my master's, I did an additional year. So I did 5 years of school, and the fifth year was for my master's. By the time I was done with that, I was like, all right, it would be a disservice to me to not at least give this a real shot for at least like a year or two to see what would happen. And because, you know, when everyone graduates college, no one has a job anyway, especially like, you know what I mean? So I was like, fuck this. Like, let me give this a real shot and see what happens. And, you know, I wasn't making like a ton of money, but like I was getting like exposure to places like people were playing my records out. And I was like, this actually could work. So I kind of put the whole, you know, business side of it on hold, but I also was doing like a little bit of work with Webster Hall and I was kind of helping them promote shows, which was super, super sweet because this was like 2012, 2013. They used to do Bright Nights, I think it was called. So every Saturday I would be at Webster, and they were bringing in just such amazing artists there. So for like 2 years I did that all while I was like kind of building my music. And by like 2015, 2016, it was like my music was like my primary occupation. You know what I mean? Where I really didn't have to do anything else. And I got into maybe around 2017, 2018, I got into like mixing and mastering a lot. So that's like been a huge part of my career. So it's just kind of been balancing all that. But yeah, the whole business thing just kind of faded away. But it definitely made an impact on my career because especially learning in college, like the best thing about going to college is not what you learn in the classroom. It's learning how to like communicate with people and take criticism and work in teams and stuff like that. And I really picked a lot up from that, especially in business school. So I think I've been able to translate that into my job because I really do treat this 100% like a job. And, you know, everything is very scheduled and I take it very seriously. So I don't think I would have had that if I didn't go to college and didn't have those experiences with the other side of the music industry.
Yeah, I have a similar background where I went to school for marketing and I worked in sales and, you know, with some companies learning how to do certain things, you know, like you learn a ton just watching other people who are successful at their craft. Right.
Absolutely.
And
That's
when you build that
better at something,
when you build that base of having business knowledge and understanding how things work and how you should be thinking about your own business. I think when you start thinking about yourself, whoever you are as a DJ, as an actual business, things are going to start going better because a lot of people don't think about themselves that way. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things I always tell people is like, yo, you're a business and you have to think about it that way. And you have to, you know, understand all the aspects of your business to be successful.
I agree. And if this year has taught us nothing else, it is so important. Like this year alone, like I have because there's no shows, like I started my podcast, you know what I mean? I started mastering and mixing more records. You have to do so many other things just to generate content and not fall out of the public eye. And yeah, like you have to have everything covered. It sucks because in this day and age, you have to be good at marketing yourself. You have to be good at making music. You have to be good at DJing. You have to be, you know, on Twitter, you got to be like a friggin' comedian. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to be good at everything. It's to be an artist, it has to be so well-rounded. You can't just have like one thing.
Well, in speaking about content, I think we've seen a little bit of a shift in your social media and your marketing materials as far as, you know, colors that you're using and theming that you're using. You know, what caused that? Is it the time off and really stepping back and rethinking all that stuff, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So honestly, for the longest time, I had been searching for a branding and identity for a visual aspect to go along with my music. And I often struggled to do it because I changed my sound so many times. Like, you know, back in 2015, I was making a lot of Melbourne bounce and big room. And now I've really transitioned to more of a songwriting type approach, more melodic based music. And, started working with a new management company in March, and one of the first things that they really brought up to me is a lack of a visual element and a branding identity. So it's really hard to find something that you're comfortable with that sticks out and, you know, is somewhat unique. So I kind of started focusing on this like neo synthwave and cyberpunk aesthetic. And I kind of learned how to, you know, edit the photos and how to like do everything myself. I have like a basic understanding of photo editing, but I had all this free time I had from friggin' COVID. So I was learning all this stuff. So I give it to my team and they loved it. And then we started branding, you know, the radio show around it. We kind of incorporated this new like moon logo. So it's all under this kind of umbrella that is the brand now. And it took forever for everything to really kind of come to a head, but I'm super stoked about it. And it feels, for the first time in my career, I feel like I have everything kind of walking in the same direction, and everything kind of feels to be on point.
Yeah, that's you know, that's what we talk about when we say like you are a business. Like those are the things that you need to think about. And you know, when we talk about this all the time, but when you're first setting up your decks, you're never thinking about this stuff. Or if you're producing your first track, like this isn't what comes to mind. Oh, I need to like have a brand that's recognized or recognizable. Yeah. So yeah, for all you young listeners out there, you know, get your shit together with your branding and your marketing early, and like, you know, develop some kind of,
it's great.
You know,
it just comes
plan,
with it, you know, it just comes with, it's like micro and macro. Like you have to like really, like I said, find it, it's all this umbrella thing. You know what I mean? It's like so Kastra, the name itself is a star actually. So we're like, all right, a star, that's like kind of lame. Let's like use a moon, but it all kind of falls into this like nighttime aesthetic that we're going for. And yeah, I don't know. Like my music has kind of started to change more into this kind of like analog, almost like 80s type sounding sound. And that works with the aesthetic. Like everything kind of is working together now for the first time. It's actually exciting.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I think when I've been playing your music for a long time, you've been putting out a ton of music, and I think in the last few years, like you've really kind of stepped up your game, and you're getting bigger and bigger signings and putting out more records. And the marketing piece to me was like, all right, Kastra's legit now. Like he has the whole package where he was putting out great music, but now it's like he has a branded identity. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. And Gary and I wanted to bring it up because it does feel completely different. Like when you go to your Spotify account or you go anywhere that you're posting material, like it's really cohesive. It looks really cool, and it just feels right, you know?
And and it felt to me for the longest time, I felt like I had everything. And, you know, I was signing these records to these awesome labels, like these A-list people were playing my music like live in their podcast, whatever. I was like, what am I missing? And it was always the missing piece. And now that I've got that, it is so much reassuring. And you're right. Like we worked really hard to make sure that every single thing is on brand. Like nothing is out of the ordinary. The only time that I really kind of mess with things that are a little off brand is when I do stuff for like DMP or anything like that. But that's just for fun. Like I'm so happy that I've continued to do that. Just because I love making edits because it keeps my set sharp. You know what I mean? Like I always know what tracks are. And when you see me play like a legit Kastra thing, it's 100% of my own edits. You know what I mean? It's like no one else could do the set because it's all my own stuff. So it's cool. Like that, but like, you know, sometimes I'll make something for Ant that's a little bit just because it happens to work. And I'm just like, this is too good not to put out, even though if it's off brand, you know?
I think the DMP thing, I'm also on DMP, and you know, we're posting tracks. I think you're posting a lot of tracks on there, man. Like
I do 3 a week for them.
You do 3 a week, which is pretty crazy, man. That's a lot of edits in 1 year. I mean,
yeah, it is. But you notice what I do to them is I release 3 a week. I take the best ones. I put them in a mashup pack every season. And then I tie that to a download gate. So you can download the entire thing. It's like 40 mashups. If you like my Instagram, or what we've been doing now recently is you tie it to my upcoming song on Spotify, right? So it's like, I have this big track coming out on Ultra. It's going to be my first Ultra track, right? So we're going to release a mashup pack in like a few weeks. And in order to download the mashup pack, you have to pre-save the Spotify link. So when the song comes out, it's got all these Spotify pre-saves. And mashup packs generally do really well on the internet just because you get like 50 tracks. You know what I mean? And it's really easy to just like throw away the ones you want and pick up the ones that you do like. So it's like I use it in 3 ways. Like I do it for Ant. It keeps my set sharp. Only I can do the set. At the same time, I recycle them into a package, put them out, and helps drive my actual releases in the future.
Yeah, that's super smart. I take a similar strategy, and I think being able to create music that you play in your sets that sets you apart from everybody else is massive. And for me, that was one way that I set myself apart when I started DJing and I started working my way up. I knew what my sound was, and I knew the popular vocals or tracks that were coming out every week or month. And you curate a song that just fits into your style. And I think it's a really great way to create your sound or set yourself apart in your sets. And I love that.
Exactly. I look at it like I'm creating like super tracks. You know what I mean? It's like if there's like a remix of something that's like the break is so sick, but the drop kind of sucks. I'm like, forget it. Like I'll just swap something else in there that I like that works. And now you have this like one super song that you can play. You know what I mean? Like the best example I can think of it is like I have this edit of Epic, you know, the what's his name? The Big Room song, boom.
Sandro Silva.
Yeah. But the break of it is Seven Nation Army. It's like that are you kidding me? You can
somebody's head might explode on that.
Yeah, it's like you can play that until forever. Like it's never gonna be out of date. Those are 2 classic songs that just happen to work together. You know what I mean? And like you've created this one epic mashup that will always work. So I always kind of look at it from that style. So yeah, but it's good. I always know what like the relevant songs are. I know what works in my sets just because I know my music so well at this point.
I want to go back to something that you said before. You said you have a track coming out on Ultra, correct?
Yes.
You want to go into that real quick, and then I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, so I actually have signed with them long term, which is super exciting because I finally found like a home for the project. I did it in November. Super exciting for me. It just opened so many doors, and it just kind of scales up the project to a level it's never really been at before. So yeah, no, I'm sorry. I have a track coming out in, the problem with signing with like a long-term contract and a major label, they're independent, but like a higher end dance label like that is there's so much more bureaucracy in terms of getting something done. It's like, now everybody's lawyer has to go back and forth on it for 3.5 weeks. And then as opposed to like where I was doing independent releases with, single releases with other labels, it was a lot easier just to kind of get things done. But now it's like, there's so many people involved and there's so much more on the line. Everything has to be legal and redlined. And then like, we already missed the submission date for it once, you know what I mean? So it's like, it should be coming out the 2nd week of February, I believe. If it gets pushed back again, it could be another week.
That's the label. If you're a dance music fan or a dance music producer, that's it. I mean, Ultra, I think is,
yeah, it's exciting. They've been around forever. You know what I mean? It's cool because like we're gonna do videos and they're not afraid to put the money up for it. You know what I mean? Like they kill it on radio. It's like everything is kind of covered. It's weird that I can't release music with any other label, but like it's that I was happy that it's so much easier now. It's like you work with one A&R person. And this whole team has this cohesive vision of what everything should be. Everybody's on the same page as opposed to like making a song. All right, like what label does this fit? Then you got to go meet these people on the label and try to pitch it to them. It's like, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to like streamline the whole thing.
That was going to be my question. Like, so, you've worked with other labels like Spinnin Records and Armada Music and Ministry of Sound, et cetera. Yeah. As like a dummy in the room who doesn't know anything, as a producer, you produce a track and then you have to go shop that around. Is that how the process works?
And usually it depends on if you're signed like I am. So it's like now they get right of first refusal for everything that I make. So everything that I make, has to go to them first. If it's going to be a Kastra single, if it's like somebody and Kastra, it doesn't have to go like that. But we get what's called step outs. So it's like if Ultra passes on a record, I could bring it to somebody else if they pass on it. But we only get a few of those a year, so you're going to have to use them wisely. But for most artists, and me up until now, what you would do is you would make a song, and then you'd pitch it to a label. If the label really liked it, they could sign you for another option. But it doesn't really make sense to do options unless they're like giving you money up front. You know what I mean? It's like, why would I commit another record to you for no reason at all? Right. It doesn't really make any sense. So yeah, what you would do is you'd make the song, you'd pitch it to the label, they would say no, then you have to pitch to another one, they would say no, and then you pitch to another one, then eventually you'd find one. But that whole process could take forever because you send them an email, they don't get back to you, you follow up. They're like, yeah, we haven't listened to it yet. Then a month goes by before you get an actual answer. Then you got to start all over. You got to send it to another label because it's unprofessional to send it to more than one at a time. You know what I mean? So now, and the fact that I don't have to deal with that headache anymore is so nice.
Man, congratulations. It's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
No, I was super happy for you, man. That's really dope. And you deserve it. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So, all right. So you've recently put out in the last couple of years, some tracks with like bigger artists, right? So you had a track with Timmy Trumpet, with Zach, right? Zach Martino.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a moment where you were like, all right, like shit is starting to get real right now? And this was was it the Timmy Trumpet track, or like, was there something before that?
Well, I mean, the first time like I ever felt super legit is when like Tiesto was playing a lot of my music, and like I got to go meet with him and hang out with him in Atlantic City. It was it was like one of those like almost famous, I can't believe this is fucking happening. The only people in the friggin' green room were me, my brother, my girlfriend, Tiesto, and Lil Jon. That was it. That was literally it. And I was like, this is actually happening right now. And so that was the first time I was like, all right, shit's actually starting to pop off now. The Timmy Trumpet record took 2 years to come out because when we made it, so I actually met Tim at DJ's.
Wow, same.
He played at DJ. Yeah, were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how I met him. And
so was Gary.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Tim was coming over to America for his, I think it was first or second U.S. tour, he signed to Hustle Records, which is under Ministry of Sound Australia. So I had just signed a bunch of records with them. And this is like the whole Melbourne bounce thing. So he was coming over to America and he's looking to take sessions with people. And they're like, we just signed a bunch of records from this kid, Kastra. He's in New Jersey. So if Tim follows me on Twitter, he's like, hey, man, I don't know if you're like where you live or anything, but I'm coming to the US for a tour if you want to take a session. I look at his fucking schedule. He's at DJ's in 3 days. I was like, dude, I'll be there. So 3 days later, I'm at DJ's, like a Sunday night party. Timmy's like big, but he's not what he is now. You know what I mean? He was like big in Australia.
Right.
And so I met him a couple of days later. We got in the studio. We made it in Gazzo's studio in Hoboken. And then it just took forever. It took a back seat because he just exploded in popularity. Like I couldn't believe how fast he really took off. So my track just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. To the point where I was like, this is just not going to happen. And like, I felt, you feel stupid because when you have something that's cool on the back burner, you're like, I have a song with Timmy Trumpet, and people, and like, you feel stupid after a year of saying that it doesn't actually happen. People think that you're full of shit. I was like, no, I can play it for you. It's really done. But it's like, if it doesn't come out, it's like, is it really real? So I thought it wasn't going to happen, but finally, like everything got sorted and they're like, all right, January. Like I was back in the soup, like his Timmy's manager is Matt Stafford. And I played a gig with them in Minnesota around like the time of the Super Bowl. And I saw the Stafford, but I was like, dude, what is going on with the song? Are we ever going to do it? He's like, it's coming. Just give me a little bit more time. So the Super Bowl was in February of that year. It didn't come out to the following January. And that's on top of another year. So it took about 2 years for it to come out. That did insane, like it did a lot for my notoriety in terms of music for sure. Timmy, like especially with how hard Timmy was just like killing it. Like he was having a meteoric rise in the scene. So attaching my name to his really helped. The song did really good. It went to #1 on like a couple stations in Australia. It did awesome on Spotify. It really, really helped. And I totally leveraged that for sure to get bigger labels, other artists, you know, whatever I could do. If you like have something that hot, you got to like press it. You know what I mean? Because
that's a huge resume booster, right?
Yeah, massive. Exactly. So it's like, it's one thing to have all these people playing your records, but to do with one that is killing it that hard. I think he's like 11 in DJ Mag this year. It really did a lot for me for sure.
I think watching Timmy Trumpet perform at DJ's that night made you realize why he rose so quickly, because his performance was high energy. His music was dope. Yeah. And he brought in this other element of a live instrument. He's just a bigger than life personality.
And he's the nicest dude ever. And think about it, like you saw him in DJs, not on the stage, in the booth. Now put him like on a real club stage where he's got room to run around and shit. It's like his energy is off the charts. Like I don't understand how he does it all the time. And He's the most down to earth dude on earth. It's like, it's pretty cool to meet somebody that humbling. I'm that humble. You know, just get to that level. It's very,
we were chugging vodka in the basement.
He's
And
a
Bond's
savage.
Bond's like, yo, make sure this guy doesn't die before he gets on stage.
Dude, so that's probably the first time we actually met. I just didn't know you because I was there too. I was in the basement with Tim and Bond.
Oh, that's
drinking.
hilarious.
Yeah, and we just didn't know. So it's like, and then I remember somebody brought Tim up on, they put Timmy on his shoulders and they walked up the stairs and they're parading Tim around the back of DJs and he's blowing the trumpet around. I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's a fucking Sunday night.
I think that was my most favorite time I've ever been at DJs, either playing or as a customer.
It was so much fun. It was seriously so awesome. I was like, I don't know why they put him in the booth. They should have put him on the stage.
You know what? You're right. He was on the come up then. And I think when he came out from, what is it, a basement? I've never been back there. Is it a basement?
Yeah, downstairs.
So like when he came out, it was like, holy shit, this is going to be like something else. And then he got in the booth and it was over.
Yeah.
He's the
awesome,
energy was wild. And then when Cream came back and we met up and he was like, you should have seen the amount of alcohol this dude drank before he got in the booth.
Savage. He's a savage. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know how he does it. And he's like a little older. Like I thought he was like 20s. He's like later 30s. Like he's a little older than I thought he was.
Dude, hilariously.
No,
I got to tell the story because it was really funny. That night he played one of me and Cream's tracks. And I go, oh, Cream, that's nice that you gave him the track before he went on. He's like, I didn't give him the track. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. He's super cool. He's like, I'm not like huge into the music he's been making recently just because it's like very hard, very like sidetracked.
Yeah.
But he's open to whatever. Like our track was not like that at all. And he didn't have a problem with it at all. Like even Matt Stafford, his manager, he's like, dude, I don't know if you should put this out. Like, you're never going to play this live. But one of the tracks he played a lot out live at the time was Funky Vodka by TJR. He's like, the song's just like that. And like somehow that put it over the edge. I don't know, but it's pretty cool how the whole thing turned out.
I think I feel like right now, a lot of artists are kind of experimenting in other sounds or people are switching over into other genres. And
it's
I don't know if it's because of the time off and because of the,
for me, it's easier to stay inspired that way. If you make so many songs in the same style, you're going to get sick of it very quickly. But I at the same time, it's like if you come up with a hot new sound, you're going to want to press it because it's working. You know what I mean? So I guess it kind of depends on the situation you're in.
So I have a question because your most recent release was what? Glamorous, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that.
No, Savage. There was one after.
Oh, Savage was the most recent?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Glamorous track, you took the vocals or the song from original Fergie track, right?
Yeah,
and I feel like a lot of electronic artists are kind of taking like older tracks, getting someone new to sing the song, and creating like this new updated great version. I feel like those, as a DJ, those are working really, really well.
Yeah, there's a reason why that's happening. It's kind of because they're technically, as long as you use the same chords, they're technically called cover songs. So they can be uploaded to Spotify. They're not remixes. Okay. So it's like, you don't get any publishing or anything on it, but you could remake this song and get it on Spotify. And since it's a cover, it's low risk. So it's like a lot of the labels are willing to take shots on that. But at the same time, I had 3 different labels pass on Glamorous because it was complicated with writers and they need to get every single person to sign off on it to some degree. So it's a low risk thing to do. You're much more likely to it's all about the Spotify algorithm. If you know the song, you're a lot less likely to skip it. You know what I mean? You're good. Like you give it another chance. So it's just because people aren't taking chances. I mean, they're playing it safe, which is fine because it's working. But at the same time, it's like, how many more versions of Show Me Love can there be? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like all the movies that come out. It's the same thing. Everyone's just remaking old movies. And you reach a point where it's like, all right, let's get back to being original and creative and coming up with new ideas and stuff.
The reason they made Saw 9, whatever the fuck, is because you can make it cheaply and it'll sell. It's the same thing with music. You know what I mean? It's like you can make a cover song that you don't have to pay a writer to write the song because it's already done. You just got to hire somebody to sing it. And then you can produce the song. It's like very cheap. It's low risk and it's working. You know what I mean? Look at all the cover songs that are in,
You're right,
So-
though. Those like trends like that do come and go. And like for me in the last 6 months, I haven't downloaded, I don't think I haven't, outside of our guys mashups and bootlegs, I haven't downloaded anything. I just feel like it's a lot of the same, you're hearing a lot of the same stuff being used a lot.
It is. It's also probably because we're not playing though. It's hard to like.
Yeah, that's probably a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
But like I feel like, even with those remixes of songs that come out or covers of songs like you're saying,
Yeah.
even with that, I'm like, oh, it's just another cover, I'm going to pass on it. It just it runs its course at some point.
Because you can see, like, dude, I don't even need to hit play, and I could tell you what something's going to sound like if it's a cover song. It's going to be a slap house version of a cover song. I don't even need to hit it. Like, I saw Dimitri Vegas and like Mike, they put out Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and I'm like, I don't even need to hit play because I know what this is going to be, and it's just going to make me annoyed. But it's like every genre that has its boom, everybody just remakes the same songs in that style. Happened with Big Room, it happened with Trap, like. When it happened with Jersey Club, like when Trap came out and Big Room was already there, people were just taking Big Room songs and changing the drums and calling it a Trap remix. You know what I mean? It's like this cycle happens over and over again until like just depending on what genre is hot right now.
So, all right. So we talked about a lot of tracks that you put out and you signed to Ultra and all this stuff, this positive success. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about when you started, right? And it's a lot harder to stay motivated. So what inspired you to keep producing in the very beginning?
Well, like I said, I've been a musician since I was like 13. I play guitar, I play bass, I play drums like okay. But I was always kind of, as a kid, I'd always play in bands, and your success is always dependent upon the involvement of other people. So it's like, if somebody flakes out, then you take a hit for that and the group can go nowhere, or you got to replace them. And that could not work out. So I had done enough of that. And by the time I was, I don't know, 19 or 18 or something, and then I got a hold of Ableton, I started kind of just messing around with it. And then I was, just messing around with it, not making full on productions or anything, just figuring it, fooling around with it. And I noticed that you can make these entire I could do the drums, I could do the bass all by myself. So I was like, okay, well, what do I need these other people for? So that kind of inspired me to do the productions. And then I got into dance music when I went over to Australia, because I hated going to nightclubs in America when I was in college and up until I went to Australia, because in America, it was all like T-Pain and that kind of shit when I was in college, right? And then I went to Australia and they're bumping like Steve Aoki and Deadmau5 and Bloody Beetroot. So I'm like, yo, this shit is amazing. And then so by the time when I was over there, I started started mixing just like on Ableton, because you can kind of DJ on Ableton. It's not really DJing, but I started just mixing songs together, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty fun. And by the time I got back from Australia, I was like not even playing my guitar anymore. I was starting like to work really on productions. So that kind of is how I got into it. And then how I keep going is just like, you got all these little wins. Like your first label signing, the first time somebody plays one of your records, the first time somebody you admire says that they like one of your songs or one of your edits, anything. You just got to take those little wins, and that will keep you going. But even with that, it's still, this year, I would imagine for a lot of people, it must have been really difficult, because the major payoff is generally playing live and playing those songs out. So I know a lot of people have been struggling with that.
Yeah, man, it's definitely I think it's tough for everybody that was gigging really hard to not have that opportunity, even if you were making music or not. I mean,
sure, absolutely,
it's tough. But
weird. Go ahead.
No, so you started as a producer, right? And then you kind of made the transition over to DJing out. Yes. What was that like? And do you think producing first has an advantage over DJing first?
I don't know if there's an advantage over it, because they are obviously linked in some way, but they are totally different things. It took me a while to understand the dynamic of a dance floor and, controlling it and crowd control and all that kind of stuff. And, but it was kind of hard, but it wasn't that bad. Like I said, I'm musically inclined. So it's like, I know, mixing harmonically. I've always done that. I know a lot of people, like, I'm sure like a lot of like people who are DJs first are not that way. They don't mix and key all the time. I do that. So I originally started on like Tractor with a controller. Then I took the controller away and I was Tractor on CDJs. Then I just took the computer away, and now I'm just sticks. You know what I mean? And it was, for me, it's all about just getting it down to nothing, just the music. You know what I mean? When I had the laptop in front of me, I had laptop face. You know what I mean? I was always like looking in the thing. So once I took that away, I felt like I was in more control, and I just hate the idea of something going wrong, because when I was hooking my computer up into a controller, into the mixer, like there's all these things that go wrong, and then somebody will have a Serato box. You got to disconnect that shit. I was like, this sucks. Like, this is terrible. Like, let me just do sticks. So the actual act of DJing, especially EDM, wasn't that difficult to master, but the arts of crowd control and playing to your spot and all that kind of stuff that an experienced DJ knows how to do, that was difficult to learn. But I felt like I have over the years picked it up to the point where I'm comfortable in most situations.
I feel like house music is specifically for DJing technically is easy, but like you said, the crowd control and like understanding the flow of a night for me is the most difficult type of music, because there are so many different genres and so many different like levels of each genre, whether you have like an opening track or a mid track or a peak track. And at any given time, you can have like the top 10 house records could be all different genres, right? So you're trying to work all these kind of in some capacity, and while trying to keep some kind of flow of a night, it's like it can become a little mind bending.
Yeah. And you know, like house track selection is kind of like you're trying to like keep the vibe going. So and the songs are long. So it's like if you commit to a song and it's a miss, you're kind of in that spot for a minute. You know what I mean? If it's like, if you're doing hip hop, you can
you can't scratch out of it.
You can't just scratch out of it. It's like, if people are going to notice that, because the vibe is like they're 15-minute long chunks of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like if you pick a wrong record or you've got a bad transition and it kind of like messes with the dance floor, you can't really get out of that so fast. You kind of got to commit to it. So yeah, the technical ability of mixing like house tracks is not so difficult, but the track selection is far more important.
I like mixing house, like if you're going to like a strictly house spot, because of all the subgenres, and you can literally like hit different sounds throughout the night and build your energy arc with different genres. So like, I don't know. I just love house music at this point of my life, and it's just fun to me.
I totally agree. It's so fun. Like I even know people who don't DJ, and like I've kind of like taught them how to like just kind of mix a little bit. And when you're playing like funky ass house music, they're like, yo, this is awesome. Like it's so much fun to play by yourself. You know what I mean?
The prep work that comes with house music is, I think, 100% of it. Well, for me at least. Like if I didn't really like hardcore prep for an hour or 2, 3 hours for a set, like I'm gonna absolutely bomb, because like now I'm just trying to piece together a set, and that's definitely not the way to do it, you know?
Yeah. And dude, as a producer, it's always been difficult for me to like attempt to make that style of music, like long drawn out tracks. Like my stuff is like very to the point. It's like there's no fat on it. Everything is there for a reason. It's like if you're making house music, I never know when it's done, because you don't really know if it's any good until you play it. And you also like the spot you play it is also important. So it's like I don't never know how to like go about making it. It's so difficult for me.
Right, which is with no gigs right now, it hurts. You can't test tracks really.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like if you're like a club music producer right now, and I do know a bunch of people who are, it's like it's very hard to A, stay inspired, and B, to know if you're making anything that's good. You know what I mean? Right.
So you just bring up staying inspired. How do you stay inspired and motivated?
The edits thing helps a lot, because just exposing myself to so much new music on a weekly basis helps me keep up with trends and keep up with like producers that I would have never known about before. So just seeing all these like, you know, people pushing the boundaries of sound always helps keep me inspired. And I'll like make an edit of something and I'll be like, I want to make a song like that, but like in my style or something. So that helps a lot. And like I kind of said before, you know, switching your styles up a little bit. Like right now, like I said, like I'm doing like kind of like this like 80s analog thing. Well, that lends itself to a lot of different BPM ranges, a lot of different song styles, as opposed to when I was just making Melbourne Bounce in 2015, everything had to be Melbourne Bounce. And that gets really old really fast. You know what I mean? There's only so many things you can do with that. So, I mean, it's cool. Like people are taking risks now. It's like you see a lot of artists kind of getting outside their comfort zone. And I feel like audiences are kind of getting comfortable with it as well. It's like now if Don Diablo makes a song that's not future house, they're gonna give it a shot. You know what I mean? At some level, you kind of reach this level where you're grandfathered in, like Tiesto. It doesn't matter what kind of song he puts out; people are gonna give it a shot. You know what I mean?
I think that's an advantage of all this time off and not having gigs, is that people are making music that they feel inspired to make, or just have wanted to make and haven't been able to because they're gigging hard, or they're producing music for a label for a specific sound. Yeah. And like now people are just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think it's the same thing for DJs, because when I go DJ, I'm not playing for the crowd. I'm playing what I want to play pretty much to like an extent, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Which I've never done before.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also like, dude, if you're, traveling, or if you're a traveling artist, I have never, ever been able to produce traveling on the road or at all. Like I need to be in my studio or in a studio, like working, like vibing with whatever I'm making. I could never do it with just my laptop and my headphones. I just didn't feel at home or inspired. It was just too difficult.
Speaking of that, do you have any like processes or routines that you do musically or not musically? Like, is there like, like a meditation process or, anything along those lines, either way, speak to either one of those.
It's funny. So it's like my girlfriend has been home a lot more recently, just due to COVID. And the first thing, like first couple of days, she's like, you really are a creature of habit. She's like, you do the same thing every single day. I'm like, I know. It's like, it's like you see all the glamour and all the cool things that come with being a DJ and a producer, but the Monday through Friday part of it is really not that cool. It's like every morning I'll wake up anywhere between like 7:30 and like 9, depending on if I was working the night before. And then I'll just eat my breakfast, like watch a little TV. I'll do like low level production work in the morning. I'll answer my emails, anything that's urgent. I'll do low level production work to kind of get me in the mood and in the creative process. So it's like, I'll make the edits, whatever I got to do, stuff that kind of just like gets the creative juices flowing. And then any more production heavy stuff, any songwriting, I'll do that early morning, go to the gym, eat lunch, finish what I got to do, try to wrap up around 6 and then call it. Because or maybe 7, it depends. Because if I work too late, I can't sleep. So it's like trying to slow a car down from 100 to 0. When you lay down, your brain is just racing. So it's like, I realized that if I stop around, 7, 8, the latest, anywhere from 6 to 8, depending on how busy of a day it is, I can kind of slowly put myself back to sleep so that I can get up and do it again in the morning. And I can balance my relationship and everything that just kind of just makes it work. If you don't have really a set schedule, it's kind of hard to do this. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of it too. Like I'll get an email because I do like I'm mix records for people that are like all over the world. So it's like, I'll get an email from somebody in Singapore at 2 a.m. and it's hard for me to not jump out of the bed and just handle it. You know what I mean? And it'll wake me up and then it'll be hard for me to get back to sleep. So You got to do your best to really just stay on a schedule because it's so easy to get thrown off.
I'm super scheduled and I love it because I don't have to think about anything, right? Like I go about my business throughout the day, whatever it is, whatever my rituals and my schedule are. And then at the end of the day, I plan for the next day. So I wake up and I know what I'm working on, where my focus is going to be. And like, I have certain parts of the day where I do certain things. And for me, that really works. It's just a way to stay, I don't know, focused and regimented. And I just work well in that way too.
I agree. The hardest thing for me was, and still is you have to be comfortable with there's days that you're super busy and days you're just not busy at all. And the days where I'm not busy at all are the ones that worry me because I feel like if I'm not busy, that something is wrong, but it's not. It's just like, that's just how this is. Like there's a lot of downtime in music. Like right now I'm sitting on all these records, right? That we're getting ready to like sort through and pick which ones we're going to release on Ultra. So I'm not really writing a lot because the more music I stockpile, the more people that are involved, the more people are asking me what's going on with this record. They have managers, they have lawyers, it's all these people that you're just trying to deal with. So I don't want to keep writing and keep adding to that list. So we've got like 8 songs that we're just kind of like holding on to. But when I'm not writing, I feel weird. You know what I mean? If I'm not making music, I feel weird. I feel like I'm not doing my job. But that's how I've kind of just like packed it with mixing and mastering and kind of everything else. But there's some days where I just like, I'll wake up and I'm done by noon and I'm like, well, now what? You know? So you got to kind of just be comfortable with that.
Gary's helped me to like learn how to shut it down at the end of the day, you know? Where like you, stuff would pop up and I'm like, I got to handle this. And like, I'm now at the point where it's like, all right, 6:30, 7:00, like I'm done. Like, leave me alone.
You gotta put it in neutral. You know what I mean? Like, so you can shut it down later. It's hard. Anything creative is extremely difficult. Like, if I attempt to work on a song at like 9:00, I probably would not sleep in that night, because I'll get to bed, I'll try to lay it down, my mind won't stop, and then before you know it, you're standing at the ceiling and it's 5:00 in the morning. You know what I mean? It's hard. Like, I'm bad at sleeping in general, so for me to like really to sleep, it has to be very, very organized.
It's the same thing with DJing. You have that like after gig rush where you can't sleep.
Dude, you don't want to go home.
I was gonna say that's one of the only places that like I can't slow it down. Like,
it's the same thing, man. You've been playing music for 3 hours, like up until 2:00 in the morning. Like, it's like trying to, you can't slow the car down. It's impossible. It's the same exact thing.
I used to have a Thursday gig, and then I'd wake up to teach like 6 hours later. But I would stay at the bar until like all hours of the night because I just couldn't slow it down.
Right. No,
my girlfriend at the time was like, dude, like, where the hell, like, you were done at 1:30, it's 4:30. Like, I don't get what's going on here.
No, I get it. It's just, I don't know, man. It's like, you're like, especially if you're doing a long gig, you're like, I want to hang out for a minute. Like, all these people have been having fun all around me. I want to have a beer with somebody, just chill out for a minute. I totally get it. That's it's just the life that we have chosen, I suppose.
That after gig beer or drink, like just hanging out with staff, is like the best, especially if it was a really good night and like everybody's buzzing from the good night.
Yeah.
That feeling.
I love, depending on the kind of show I am doing, if it's like a Kastra headlining show, I always get there early because I like to chill first. You know what I mean? I don't like walking into a room not knowing what's been played, knowing what the vibe is. I see people do all that all the time. I guess like if you're at a certain level, you have comfort knowing that the opener is a good opener, so you could probably be okay with going in and playing whatever. But I'm kind of at that mid level where it's like sometimes you get bad openers. So it's like, I need to know that the guy is doing his job and like everything is okay. And he's not like playing stuff that I'm going to play. Like, I hate that. It's so hard, but it happens all the time.
I agree with you. Like, I like to get there early because it's just more information for when you go on, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
You're gathering information on the music that's being played, what the crowd's doing, what the bartenders or staff likes, like all that stuff I feel like goes into having a good set.
Dude, and I totally, honestly, in like, this kind of goes back to like me kind of reaching out to the DJing community around me. I'm so happy that I have done that because there's so many amazing DJs where we live who know how to rock a crowd. And if you can master the open format thing, like doing a show like I do for 90 minutes is nothing. You know what I mean? And so like, I've kind of taken some spots that have been like open format have kind of pushed me. And I'm like, I have learned so much from that. It's made like my Kastra gigs so much easier. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if I can do some of the spots that I've done here, I can do anything.
Realistically, you don't want to settle into a room while you're DJing. Like, you should be settling into the room, like, well before that. Like, so You're right. Just stepping into a booth cold.
Especially if it's somewhere you've never played before, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, it could be anything. I remember one time I was playing in like, it was actually a gay club. I was playing at a gay club in Chicago and I accidentally hit like the house anthem. I think it was Funky Vodka by TJR, the song I mentioned before. And all of a sudden everybody went nuts. And I was like, why do they love that song so much? Like, oh, that's like their calling or whatever. Yeah. It's like, you accidentally hit it by mistake and I didn't know. So it's like that. Like, I wish somebody had told me that ahead of time. Yeah.
So we're approaching our hour. We like to keep all these episodes close to an hour, but I have two more questions. So the first one, is there a failure that sticks out that either motivates you now or something that kind of launched you into something positive?
A failure that has launched me into something positive. Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's something negative. It's COVID, honestly. This is, I hate to say this because so many people are out there like struggling, but like, honestly, COVID has helped my career because I would have never gotten the management that I now have without COVID because they would have been too busy to take me on. Hence, I would have never gotten the songs that I wrote to get me the record deal that I now have. You know what I mean? So it's like, I somehow turned something that is so negative into something positive. It really sucks that we can't go out and play, but at least there's that. You know what I mean? So I feel like weird saying that because everybody else is kind of taking it in the face.
Yeah.
But it has definitely helped me in some areas. I'd be lying to you if I said it didn't.
Yeah, I think having all that time, all the time we have now, it allows us to branch out into other things, learn new things, photo editing or whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
And focus on areas of your business that you might have been lacking because you're gigging so hard, you know?
Ties exactly what we talked about in the beginning of this conversation. It's just like it's a lot easier to just like lull and sulk about it. It's like, but if you have all this extra time that you could focus your attention on, you have other areas of your career that you need to focus on. Like there's things to learn.
All right. Last question. What advice would you give to any producers that are listening right now who want to get signed by a record label, want to produce their own music, want to get to your level and beyond?
Okay. A couple things. If you're talking about somebody who's a new producer or a new DJ or just
just someone who hasn't seen success yet. Someone that's earlier in their stage of career.
Yeah. I would say there's a couple things. One, I know everybody says this, but it's so true. It's try not to compare yourself to other people because you're comparing your like where you are in your career to where they are in their career. And a lot of times it may look similar, but it's much different. I've been doing this for a very long time. So if somebody just starting comparing themselves to me, it's like not a fair comparison. That would be one. So like manage your level of reality in terms of like where you are in your actual career. Two is don't skip out on your music theory. If you're trying to be a musician, you got to learn how to make music. You know what I mean? Like even if it's just basic chords or basic, any kind of music theory that can help you, it will do wonders for you. It's like people try to learn how to write songs it's like people are trying to learn how to cook without knowing what the spices are or anything. It's like, it's just not going to work. And then, if you're just trying to get into production, the easiest thing is just to do it in increments, learn how to make edits or mashups, edits, whatever. And then, gradually kind of get to like the levels and then work up into making full songs, do edits, remixes, and then your own songs. And then you just got to be relentless, man. Your music is going to suck until it doesn't. You know what I mean? And it just takes a long time to learn. It's a curve it's difficult to manage, but especially when there's other people around you who are friggin' killing it. It's hard to keep going, but it's so worth it at the end. There's nothing better than getting a song signed, playing it live. There's just no high that is equivalent to that.
That's awesome, man. It's great advice. Thank you for sharing.
I'm just happy we got to spend some time together.
Yeah, man. I miss you.
I miss you too, bro. I hope next time I see you is it's warm out and we're putting down some Bonds lemonades or something.
Yeah, I definitely hope it's at DJ's early in the summer.
you know we're drinking for that one.
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to plug? Where can people find you? I mean, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. Definitely keep it. I mean, I have my first Ultra track will be coming out very soon. I would say February, unless something terribly goes wrong. I would say it's probably mid-February. Doing the radio show once a month. Guests are getting really cool. I got Phoenix. By the time this ends, I'm sure it'll be already up. I have Phoenix Paul next week. They did "In My Mind." I'm sure you remember that song.
Yep.
So that's cool. The guests are starting to get really good.
Sick.
And that's it, man. I honestly, that's all I could think of right now. And then the edits on DMP,
Yeah, shout out to DMP, man. Digital Music Pool.
He's the GOAT.
All right, man. Kastra, we thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate it, man.
Always good catching up.
Man. Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you for checking out this episode. Thank you to Kastra for jumping on with us. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
Peace out.
Guys.
Cool.